Hello and welcome back to Not Just Another Fat Girl. This is Kristen, aka your resident fat girl. And today I'm going to be continuing my fat dating series. And in particular, I'm going to discuss and offer tips when it comes to long distance relationships. I think the number one question that is most often asked is, can they really work? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Studies have proven that long distance relationships can actually be better because you appreciate the time you have together a lot more. You don't fight over the small things because your time is limited. Basically, couples in a long distance relationship tend to pick and choose their battles very, very well. It doesn't mean that issues can't fester, but they do have better communication overall. And that's basically what the study proved. So, number one, in a long distance relationship, I think it's kind of a given. Everybody knows it's trust. It has to be there. Otherwise, you will drive yourself crazy with wonder while he or she is away. There has to be a solid foundation of trust. Otherwise, it just won't work, period. Number two in a long distance relationship is communication. You have to communicate regularly. It doesn't have to be every day, but it needs to be consistent and not just face to face consistent, okay? Text each other, call each other, Skype with each other. Skype really is your best friend when you're in a long distance relationship. I know someone who literally, they would Skype each other. Okay, so she had a desktop, so she would literally like turn her screen to face her bed, and they would literally Skype each other before they went to bed and watch each other fall asleep. And they would leave Skype on all night long. So if one of them woke up, they literally just called for the other person. Boom. Instantly they woke up and responded. They had a nightmare. Boom, they're right there. So Skype is your best friend in a long distance relationship. Use it. People didn't have this 20 years ago. Take advantage of it, okay? Number three in a long distance relationship is time. I'm not talking about, seeing each other every week because sometimes that just isn't possible depending on how far apart you are, depending on the distance. Some couples can only see each other once a month, some once every 6 months. Heck, there are people who are, doing a really, really long distance and only seeing each other once a year, as in they're in the US and they're in Africa or Europe or wherever. Okay? But you have to make the effort. Make the time to see each other when you can. Right? Number four, compromise. The bottom line is, in a long-term, long-distance relationship, at some point, one of you or both of you will have to move, okay? At some point, that has to be the end goal. I know people in a long distance relationship where they both moved to a new city so that it was fair and equal for both parties. And basically, they treated it like a new adventure, rather than a new step in their relationship. They wanted to maintain that equality factor and prevent the potential resentment that can come if, the person that moves doesn't enjoy the location. If the moving is one-sided and that person happens to not like the location. And I'm speaking on that from experience as well. As someone who left everyone and everything that I knew behind to move to a new city, the city that he had grown up in and had plenty of friends and family in. And I felt isolated, okay? I felt alienated and alone. And 11 years later, that really hasn't changed. I've begun to make friends here, but nothing lasting. Nothing like what I have back home. And frankly, that made it a lot harder than I expected. If you have a good man, then he's obviously going to do better than mine did, my ex. And he's going to be more inclusive. He is going to be more supportive. He is going to be understanding that this is difficult on you. And he's going to try to make the transition easier. He is going to arrange outings to where you guys can meet new people. Heck, he may even be willing to go and do couples things so you guys can meet and make new friends together as in other couples. Obviously I said my ex, so we are not together anymore, but I did stay here. And it's not because I like it or because I want to stay, but because I love my children enough not to rip them away from their father like that. In the future, I definitely think I will move, but for the moment, I'm kind of, grinning and bearing it. 11 years later, I'm still grinning and bearing it. But this is all stuff to keep in mind, okay? Long distance relationships are like any other relationship at the core. You don't see each other as often, but you still need to put in the time, the effort, Like I said, the base elements, the core elements of any relationship still have to be there. And in fact, they need to be even stronger because of the distance, all right? You still have to do the work, even more so in making the time. There's a whole other financial part of it as well because, travel isn't cheap. Gas has gone down in price, but it is still not cheap. Plane tickets are not cheap. But the bottom line is, if the person is worth it to you, then you won't care. And that's just it. All those years ago, to a degree, I had to think he was worth it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. You live and you learn. You're going to make mistakes, and you have to forgive yourself for those mistakes. But I do feel wholeheartedly that every single relationship should not be 50-50. It should be 100-100. So you have to give 100% in any relationship that you have. And if he is worth it to you, then you will do that. And you will do that without reservation, no matter how great the distance is between you. All right? That's it. If they are worth it to you, then you won't let any obstacle stand in your way. Not time, not money, not the negativity from your friends and family, not the distance. If they are worth it to you, then you'll figure out a way to make it work. You two will work it out. If it is meant to be, it will be. But don't leave it entirely up to fate. You really do have to do the work, all right? So take these little tips, do the work, communicate, build those foundations. Make sure you have a strong core for your relationship. And I promise you, it may not be forever, but it will last as long as you two want it to last. Okay? I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. I know I've said this on previous videos, but really feel free to drop topics that you want me to talk about in the comments below. I do read them, so yeah, go ahead and do that. Thank you for watching, and until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Stay fabulous.